All right, Elle, you have been on the desk for a lot of women's basketball coverage, and I've been telling people for a long time, y'all say y'all want more attention. Y'all don't want us showing up. We're going to get there, and you're going to wish we never came.
Yeah.
You are. And have you seen the dude on Twitter that's got that video talking about he started putting women in his women's basketball in his parlays? And he's like, look, we're going to start treating y'all like dudes. And he out here screaming at the television. Your Ernie Johnson looking ass need to go out there and get some rebounds. It's just like, because this is how we talk about dudes.
Yeah, this is equity.
I knew it. Y'all did not want us to show up. And now we are showing up. It is getting unwieldy already.
So, okay, I do not adopt by the notion that new people should not be able to talk about, like, the whole point of growing a sport is that you do have to bring new people in and that people are going to discover it and that you do have to, talk to Black people about racism. We're real tired of having to paint that picture for you, but, alas, we want you to understand and we would like changes. So we will sit down and talk to you about it over and over and over again. And it sort of feels that way when we're talking about sports. Like, I don't adopt by you don't get to say a thing. My biggest grievance is, Bo, is that if you are new and you don't have the capacity yet to talk about storylines within the W because you just don't know enough, that's okay. It's okay. It is okay. But what you shouldn't do is, because you just want to lend your voice to the conversation in general, keep rehashing the same tired, boring, dumbass, fabricated storyline that all of these women are bitter and can't stand Caitlin Clark. Like, that is why I went off last week and why, I love Charles Barkley. He's a friend. I could text him right now. He's an amazing guy, a kind man, all of those things. And he's just wrong here. And LeBron is wrong here. And I'm frustrated because the only time that we hear the newbies or the outsiders refer to any storylines inside the W, it is essentially putting mostly Black and brown women in a place where the miscreants then get to slide into their DMs undeservingly and attack them. And I'm not with that. Like, we've got real games now. You want to do all of this, like this sort of the fandom part of it. I think Caitlin Clark is being appropriately covered. She is. She's a star. Like, we don't make these decisions in a vacuum, guys. You can get mad at me all you want because we're rehashing Cowboys talk. We literally have metrics that show that when we talk about the Cowboys, you watch. And when we talk about something else, you turn. And that's how these things are guided. So people watch Caitlin Clark. They love Caitlin Clark. It's true. I think she is getting the appropriate amount of coverage and it's deserved. But I am so annoyed and over this idea that the players on that court need to not respect Caitlin, because I think that they do, and she's earning their respect as every rookie does, but they need to worship her. And this is just weird to me. It's wacky and bizarre. They don't need to worship her. They are appreciative for everything that she's bringing to the league. These women, and this, Bo, like, these women sacrifice their whole careers. They've been sacrificing in high school, at AAU ball, in college, in the pros, so that people like Caitlin and this generation can have it better than they did. That's all they do, is fight for the next generation to have more visibility, to have these platforms and these stages. And for you to paint them as just some old jealous women, it's bullshit. It's not okay. And it's not Caitlin Clark's fault. It's everyone else that's othering her. It's these so-called fans that are making her the other, that are making her she just wants to play, bruh. And she's also not a pussycat. She can take care of herself. Like, yes, this is a lot of pressure, but I'm just tired of watching these men who don't have the capacity to talk about any of the real storylines that are happening right now that we have actual games. Like, LeBron's a great basketball mind, Bo. He could have spent that time talking about how her teammates could do a better job anticipating her passes, right? Because turnovers have been an issue and they're not all on her. Or how she's grown from game 1 to 6. Or, what more we could see from Aaliyah Boston, or there's just so many other things to talk about. And they just keep going back to a fabricated storyline that doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. Like, every single league, Bo, and I know I'm standing on the soapbox again, but I'm frustrated based on the response even to my initial video, which is people just being like, well, look at this tweet of someone being shady. You know what, guys? I know this is new for some of you because you don't pay attention to women's sports, but just like in any other sports, women's sports have players that throw shade, enforcers who get in there and body people. They've got trolls. Like, they've got all of the same things that every other league has, you guys. This is not specific to Caitlin Clark. You're just new in this space. And so while you're new, before you put your fucking feet on my couch, look around, get the lay of the land, get to know it a little bit before you just jump in and continue to fan flames of divisiveness that frankly target Black and brown women. It's not okay.
And see, the thing for me on that, because I think everything you said was correct, but let's operate on the assumption that the women in the league are jealous of Caitlin Clark. Let's throw it out there. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world if that is the case. Michael Jordan certainly got super jealous. I mean, we believe that he was frozen out of an all-star game in 1985. Like, we believe that Isaiah Thomas told people, don't pass him the ball. Isaiah swears he didn't happen, but this is how it goes, right? The boys that came for Lonzo Ball when he first got in the league, like, that happens to young players. A humbling is always there. I think that people operate with the assumptions of jealousy as it relates to women and women getting in these spaces. But I'm like, no. That's just what this game is, because there's so many. Ricky Davis thought that the Cavaliers drafted LeBron James to finally get him some help. That really
Seems so naive
happened.
Now.
That really happened. He thought they went and got something for him. You know what I mean? So, like, this is how the game goes. This sort of thing is what it is. It was an interesting discussion for me because I had not personally seen, I didn't discount the possibility, but anybody that was actually saying that the other women should take it easy on Caitlin Clark, because that's crazy talk, right? Like, that, if anybody actually believed that should have been the approach of the rest of the league, is to treat her like she got cancer, right? Like, it's Make-A-Wish Day, and we just letting the little homie get a touchdown in the spring game. No. What was it? Anescu, they hit her with that super screen and took it to the ground. Look, I give her credit. She popped up right into the ground. I'd have gone through that thing. It would have been like a Roadrunner cartoon. It'd have been a hole in the ground where I just fell through, and that shit would have looked just like that.
With the body mark.
Yes. It would have looked like a crime had taken place, except the crime was they spiked him through the ground, right? But that's what these games are. Like, I think for a lot of people, it's going to be interesting watching men migrate into this. I've talked about this a few different times in the past. The way that we talk about sports is very specific to the way that we talk about men, and reconciling the way that we generally talk about women in public and polite company with how we talk about sports is going to be a very interesting endeavor as we try to bring these things together. And so I think for a lot of dudes, they don't necessarily know how to talk about women in public doing the things that these women are doing.
I think that's a super fair assessment, is that they just don't, it's impossible in many ways. It's so funny to have this conversation without sounding like America Ferrera in the Barbie speech, the monologue that she had. But man, when I tell you I was in that movie theater just bawling, crying, because I was like, say it, sis. It does feel a little bit impossible. And I think that, to understand that, like, we are still competitors. And I think that women have to show levels of humility and deference that men never have to show. And so much of that we naturally carry with us because we are beholden to something bigger, right? Like a white, top prospect doesn't have to worry that if he doesn't do the job well, no white man will ever get the job again. And like, these are things that people of color, things that people of marginalized communities sort of always carry with them anyway, is this responsibility to others. And it is unfair at times, it very much feels like unfair that you have to look at a woman at times and be like, I know this is under market value, but can you just do this one because it's just great for the game? It's just going to like grow the game. It's always about appealing to morality and doing it for other people. And so it's frustrating because people, earmark a couple of examples of, women doing some whataboutism, and rightfully so if you're in some of their positions and you're wondering why the attention hasn't been there before. And there's a million reasons why Caitlin Clark is as popular as she is. And yes, certainly race comes into play with that, but also she's wildly freaking talented. And she is benefiting from a time right now where the platform's never been bigger, where the eyes have never had more attention. And frankly, when the attention is on her, she always delivers. This is the first time we've seen her stumble. She hasn't lost 5 games in a row, probably since middle school, So I think that this is going to be ultimately the beginning of what will be a great, career for Caitlin Clark. But the idea that these men are hell-bent on protecting or saving her, it's insulting to her, and it's insulting to women in general. we don't need the help of Jim Dog 373 on Twitter. like, are you joking? Do you see these women? You think they need you caping for them with your athlete ass? Like, stop. And like, it's just insulting to think that that's sort of where we're at. And I just keep seeing most of the inflammatory comments coming from men. And yes, I'm pretty sure on Jeff Teague's podcast, he's the one that was basically like, yeah, they should let her win. Like, they should have made the schedule easier for her. Like, I'll give you this. They are playing a lot of games in a very short amount of days. 7 games in 12 days is bananas, especially when you consider teams like the Aces have only played 4 games. But everyone's going to go through this at some point because the WNBA season is shortened with the Olympics. So there's just, if you just did a little bit of research, you would understand that like there's just so much more meat on the bone when it comes to Caitlin than just forced idolatry.
Also, you also have to keep in mind, though, NBA players, I would say that maybe half of them absolutely believe that under those circumstances that the NBA would do something to make it such that Caitlin Clark would start the year, score 35 points a game to get this money. Like, they operate with a completely different level of cynicism.
Fair. The script writers.
About their league. Yes. I tell you who I do think, though, is like so far the biggest winner of the new WNBA popularity. And I'll be honest, I had never heard of her until she got drafted. The woman, Cameron Brink, that's playing for the Sparks.
Yeah.
She's going to make a gazillion dollars. She got drafted to the absolute right team and has, she got good vibes about her. You know what I mean? The absolute right look. But you see where they said that Kawhi Leonard, she made Kawhi Leonard laugh harder than anybody else. I saw her take a picture with Shohei Ohtani. I ain't never seen that man smile before. He was over there looking at her like Nelson Mandela when he finally got to meet the Spice Girls.
Listen,
he was over there like, hey.
Cameron Brink, when she was drafted to the Sparks, she's really, really good defensive player. Steph Curry's god sister, right? Like, yeah, Steph's mom and her mom were roommates in college. And so their god brother and god sister. Her mother worked on Don Staley's first shoot. Like, they are like a basketball legacy family. And the great thing is that, yes, Cam Brink absolutely looks like a supermodel, which always helps in LA, but she's really freaking good. She's really, really good. She is second right now in the odds for Rookie of the Year, but she's been really fun in particular to watch and to watch people. I remember her obviously from her time at Stanford, but I think for people to sort of be like, who are these supermodels? Because that's the cool part I think about the W as well, is that it takes all kinds of women and all kinds of women make up the W. And so when we do these sort of like fashion fits, I've seen some of the dudes like on social media being like, oh, I thought we weren't supposed to focus on what women look like. I thought you guys just wanted to be taken serious as athletes and we're not supposed to focus on you being hot. I don't know where that accent was from, but I liked it. And I think, but that's what's really cool about women now, and especially these young women, they just embrace and own who they are. And that is that I can be a fashion piece and look like a supermodel and do a Skims commercial and then beat your ass on the court. And that's what's so great, I think, about the W right now, is that it's just this convergence of so many personalities, more opportunity to learn about these women and learn their storylines and see them on TikTok. And then the convergence of just like really great play. I mean, the level of play is so great, you guys. And that's my point with Caitlin, right? You didn't overestimate her talent. You underestimated everybody else's. And now that you're seeing the most transformational college player of all time struggle in the league, it gives you great perspective on what Candace Parker was able to do. And she was the first and only person still to come in and win MVP her rookie year. But also just the idea that like the W is not set up for rookies to succeed right away. It's just not, because the schedule's so quick. The Spurs drafted Wemby and then he had 5 months before he actually played for them. Like, Caitlin Clark had 2 weeks. So you just got to be patient with these, but the future is quite bright. And I think it's going to be a heck of a year.
You can turn $10 into $1,000 with playoff basketball and hockey entries today on Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Prize Picks is really simple to play, and you can make your picks and submit your entry in less than 60 seconds. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. So make sure you go to prizepicks.com/Bomani and use code Bomani for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/Bomani. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.